It took until late October, but we finally saw it. Heart, energy, and real promise from Wisconsin's young players. The defense was outstanding. The offense, not so much. But for the first time in a long time, it actually felt like maybe there was some progress. I'm Rajeev. He's Justin. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome to the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajeev and Justin, back together on a Sunday evening to talk about all things Wisconsin Badgers. On today's show, the defense showed up, the young guys flashed, and even though the offense struggled again, there were real signs of growth, especially from the underclassmen who finally got their shot. We'll break down what went right, what desperately needs to change, and why this Oregon game might have been the first glimpse of the Badgers' future, both next year and in the last 4 games of the season. We'll also quickly touch on at the end of the show the basketball scrimmage, as basketball is about to tip off in about a week. You can find our show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate all of the great support of the show. A couple of quick things to start things off. Saturday locks going great, by the way. 2-2 this week, 24 wins, 11 losses on the season. Go check that out. Link is in the description to the channel if you'd like to check out Saturday locks. It's fantastic. It's been a lot of fun, so hopefully you like it. Bye week is coming up, so there's no 3 big things this week. We will instead focus our attention on next weekend, which will be the Bucky Report's official basketball preview, because the season is the following Monday. So the season starts November 3rd, I think. Yeah, November 3rd, maybe something like that, whatever that Monday is. So next Sunday, we will do a full basketball preview similar to what we've done in the past. We'll go through a various list. I'll give Justin all this list of prediction stuff, like Big Ten record, non-con record, how far we go in the tournament, MVP, all that kind of prediction, superlative stuff. And we look ahead to the basketball season. There's a lot of good things coming there, which will be fun, man. I realize the Packer game is still going. For those of you that are watching us live, sorry about that. But that's okay, because they're winning, I think, by 10, if I'm not mistaken. So that's good. And Justin, how are you, man? How's it going?
Not too bad. It looks like the Packers are going to pull this one out if they can hopefully put up one more score here and just put the Steelers out of their misery and make Rajeev feel good too, because it's another team in the AFC that he has less to worry about with.
It sure is. And yes, oh boy, oh my Indianapolis Colts. And I'll also mention this comment here to start the show. A Kefo. I'm bummed Tottenham beat my team Everton. I so wanted Rajeev to cry some more. Sorry, Kefo. We got 3-0 win on the road. All right, Justin, we'll start off like we always do with 3 and out. 3 takes: Wisconsin Badgers take, a Big Ten take, and any national sports take. Hit me with your 3 and out, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, for Badgers, we saw the defense, the young guys. Let's be honest, it was mostly the young guys play really well in that game. It's such a weird game. We had 4 sacks and like 7 tackles for loss against a legitimately good team, and it feels so out of place given what we've seen in most of the games this season. And then offensively, you had Atuka look pretty darn good as the lead back in the game. Nationally, this broke tonight. Brian Kelly out at LSU. We're seeing yet another team that is truly serious about trying to maximize their program, with LSU saying that, 10 wins or whatever isn't good enough here. You've got to be challenging for playoff berths or challenging for a national title. And here we're floundering around at 2-6 and no movement at all. And jackasses that are in leadership acting like, oh, let's let this play out. I believe the buyout for Brian Kelly is $50 million. We're small time. It's all I could say is I get it that it's hard to move the money around to make this happen, but we're really looking Bush League with this right now when we're crying over 25 mil and we have teams going with double that that are just like, whatever, we need to be better. Pay the man and get him out of here.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that have a lot more, or programs that have a lot more ruthlessness. There was a question that came up in Discord. We're going to talk about it tonight. Mr. October, Colts mentions over and under 2.5. Buddy, it's over, and I'll tell you that right now. That's what happens when your team.
Hey, when you have Jonathan Taylor, I don't mind you talking about
Jonathan. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so for my 3 and out, Badger take. You kind of mentioned it. I think what gets lost in this Badger game is because there's so much to talk about with the offense and how inept it is, and Hunter Simmons and blah blah blah, and the kids. We're going to talk about all that. What gets lost is that this is Oregon on the road, the number 6 or whatever team in the country. Like, this is a team that, yes, we played them well last year, but this is a defense that has shown up against a really, really good football team, a playoff team. This team's making the playoffs unless something crazy, comes off the edge. It's not going to happen. They're making the playoffs. This is a playoff team, and I'm really excited to see what our defense can do against other teams now that it's getting a little bit better. And, I think that if that defense really is improving, as far as we knew the run defense was there all year. If we can get even more disruptive plays, like Riger's getting a little better, Peterson's looking good, obviously with the young linebackers, this could be something interesting. Big Ten take. I hate to say this, but man, Iowa. I feel like Iowa might make a run to the playoff, dude. I really do. Iowa looks. I know that people criticize their offense, and Mark Gronowski, by the way, he's better. They're way better than our offense. They beat the crap out of us. They beat the crap out of Minnesota. I know that I'm not sure what their schedule is, but I really believe that this could be that 4th Big Ten team that finds a way to sneak up there. I hate to say it, but that defense is lights out. And honestly, Mark Gronowski, he's a game manager enough to be able to move these guys down the field. They're going to score points. They continue to score a lot of points. Now, not the best, greatest defenses, but they are scoring points.
They have some really tough games coming up.
Yeah. So what's their schedule?
So here's what I see coming up right now in November. They have both USC and Oregon that they're going to have to deal with coming up here, which those are going to be some trouble games. And then they finish with Michigan State and Nebraska.
Okay. Well, look, but anyway, that's I just watch out for Iowa. I hate to say that.
Oh, yeah, they could absolutely upset either one of those teams.
Yeah. National sports, seriously, just give me a salary cap in baseball. First of all, can we have that? Can we go back to that? I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm not really one to talk about payroll because we have a big one too, but I just want the parity there. And you heard it. Another game with 3 touchdowns from your favorite player and my favorite player, Jonathan frickin' Taylor. Badger for life. The dude, man, honestly, I know that many people are not Colts fans on this podcast. That's fine. I get that you're watching your team right now. I appreciate it, but you can appreciate the Badger side of the world. And Tanner Bordellini is our center and is owning the offensive line. He was incredible at center with Jonathan Taylor behind him. Honestly, I'm stoked. I can't believe it. This is the best team in the NFL. Disagree with me if you want. This is the best team in the NFL. It's unbelievable. Okay.
I think we'll see on that, but what I will say is they're definitely playing the best right now of anybody in the league.
That's fair. I agree. We got the Steelers next week. You guys are clearly taking care of the Steelers right now. That's 32-19. Geez, this game's over. Okay, good. Oregon, 21-7. Not the worst, Justin. Let's start with the defense. Okay, give me your overall there's a lot to unpack here. Give me your overall thoughts on the defense. We are going to talk about the youth next. So give me your overall sort of take on how the defense played against a very good team.
So I will say I do want us to kind of slow down a little bit with the defense a little bit. And that's partially because we do need to remember Dante Moore was out for roughly half the game. And
but the half that he was in there, we still played well.
We did. I'm not denying that. But I do think that maybe some of the shock plays possibly aren't there if Moore's playing as opposed to the backup. And that's the area where I'm saying I think everyone played really well. I thought it's pretty clear to me that you can see the talent upgrade with Catalano and Mason Post out there. Instinctually, they're just a cut above the other two guys. And I really like Christian Allegro. I just don't know if he's necessarily as instinctual as these guys are. And they just seem to have a little bit more playmaker in them. I think you have all the physical tools you could want with Allegro. He's just maybe not quite as instinctual as those two.
Yeah. I think the defense looked great. And I want to get we don't get to praise them. We don't get to praise this team a lot very often. And I know it was raining. I've seen the comments all the rain. I got it. I know you can say that they took their pedal off the metal, whatever. This is a team that lost the last time they played on their home field to Indiana. They were not trying to do that. As far as I'm concerned, they were trying to do what they did to Rutgers, which is beat the shit out of them. And I think that we got in their way a little bit. I think that Posa and Catalano were disruptive, and I think that the defense played well. Peterson, Cheeks, Reiger. I think the defensive backs played for the most part well. I think there were a couple missed tackles or some issues here and there. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it gives me confidence, Justin, that I feel like we can do this against other teams. And I just feel like they deserve a little credit because we don't give a lot of credit to them. And we're going to talk about the coach in a minute, but let's focus on Posa and Catalano.
Well, and I want to say one more thing real quick about the defense. There's people saying that they took their foot off the gas. I don't think that that's the case at all. I do think that they were more conservative with a backup quarterback in, but I don't think they took their foot off the gas. You don't fake punt, up 2 scores late in the fourth quarter if you took your foot off the gas.
Well, you do that when you're being an ass,
which
is what he was, but that's fine. It's okay. I can live with it. I don't like it, but I can live with it.
I won't disagree with that. But yes, Post and Catalano were great. Both were just major focal points of the defense in this game. Obviously, Posa had 13 tackles. You had Catalano with 8. Those guys were just all over the field. And I think that's what we were kind of expecting to get from our starting linebackers to start the season. There's a bump here that we saw in this game that I don't think we've really seen over the course of the season. And a lot of it is the tackles in the backfield. And that was Posa. The kid just does, he is off like a shot once he sees something. And once he really trusts his eyes for a young guy, which is something which I think is realistically what I think Tackett and Christian seem to lack at times. I think they're hesitant before they fire. And I think that's why we don't see as many negative plays with them, even though I think they're both pretty good linebackers from a physical standpoint, understanding what they're supposed to do. I think they aren't necessarily quick in terms of the mental aspect of it at times.
Do you, if with a fully healthy Allegro, I mean, Curtis is healthy. He just isn't going to get playing time. For perfectly healthy Allegro, does he start over Posa in your opinion at this point? He's not healthy. He's out for the year, but I'm just saying if he was healthy.
Yeah. Is he out for the year for sure?
He broke his arm, man. I can't imagine he's not.
Well, I don't know if he's going to come back.
I don't know that. My assumption was that he was out for the year, but he could be, and I think he's out for the year, but I could be wrong.
That very well could be. I would say that he's going to start chewing into it. I think it's probably a rotation. I don't know if you necessarily go up, but I do think there's a chance that Mason's just more productive as things go on, because we've talked about this. We legitimately thought that he's going to be a star when he got brought in. His film out of high school was incredible. And yes, he wasn't playing in a hotbed for talent, but he was a man amongst boys in his high school film. It was legitimately, he was we talk about game wrecker. It doesn't get much more of a wrecking than what Mason Posa was doing on his high school film.
What do you think is Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano's best attributes? I know you're a bit of a film nerd, so give me I
think it's
what are their best attributes, and then what's your best Badger comp? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I know you're good at this stuff. Badger comp for both of them, and what's their best attributes individually?
So athletically, I think Posa probably stacks up well with a Zach Bond, but I think he's actually a little more instinctual and better in space because he's more of a middle like Schobert was. Catalano he really reminds me of Sanborn. I really just think that he's a guy that's really smart and plays where he's supposed to be and has really good instincts. Or Connolly's probably another one of those guys. He's just kind of always where he should be. And he's really, really solid in terms of tackling ability and instincts. He rarely takes a misstep on things. And he fills really well. He's probably a little bit closer to Sanborn than I would say Connolly, because I think he looks like he's going to put on really good weight. I think he's going to be a big boy by the time he's done at Wisconsin.
Can I tell you who Mason Poster reminds me of is Chris Borland. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's a better athlete, but instinctually I could see it.
Yeah.
Like he just fires like a cannon every time. He never second guesses himself. And he's also one of those guys where I think even if he does, he's quick enough that he can probably bail himself out to a degree, which I love seeing him play that hard. I think having guys like that are just going to accept the fact that they might not always be right, but if they're going to be wrong, they're going to be doing it at 100 miles an hour. That can still cause problems for an offense.
Man, I think these guys are so exciting. Like the fact that Posa and Catalano are starting now, it's like, oh yeah, remember when how excited were we, both of these guys? Like I give Fickle credit. We don't give Fickle a lot of credit these days, but that 24 and 25 class, we were excited about it. We knew it. We were pumped about Posa and Hilton and Catalano, and it looks like Posa really is going to be the guy that we all expect him to be. I just am really happy that Luke Fickle made the decision to actually put those guys in. Okay. Like Tacky Curtis basically saw the bench. That's in essence what happened. And I think that's the right thing to do. If you're not going to give it your all, those guys need to make decisions right now as to who's going to be out there on the field, who's going to be, who's going to get the playing time. And hopefully both of these guys are ready to stay next year, by the way, because I'm worried about losing them both at this point, just because you don't know.
Posa put something out there today on Instagram or something like that, saying that we're not going anywhere. And I don't know if that was meant to be like, hey, we're gonna play our butts off and we're here to stay in terms of like making plays, or if it was I love it here. I'm not going anywhere for the school, regardless of what happens. I'm playing at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Could be either one. That's hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm really, really excited about it. How much credit do you give Mike Tressel on yesterday's performance? What was your perspective on the actual scheme of the defense?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I have to give him credit because the production was there, but we're still not getting turnovers. But I can't hold turnovers against a coach because they're so fickle in terms of how you get them.
No pun intended.
Yes. Yeah. There's always a chance that you could punch one out, and if the guy's really aggressive on defense, but it's so hard to get, like, we're really struggling. I do think, like, the weakness of this defense is still the secondary. Like, they're really struggling. And maybe if you had, Zachman, you might be doing a little bit better in that regard right now, just because he probably closes up a couple of, holes that are there now just because you're starting young, who's maybe not quite as well versed or experienced as Zachman, and just not necessarily that level of speed. So it's hard for me. I thought the defense played well. Like, against a team like Oregon, like, we're not going to get a better effort than that. If we had any sort of offense that was capable of staying on the field, I think you could make the argument that we maybe only give up like 7 or 14 or 7 or something like that. But we couldn't help out the defense at all. They spent the bulk of this game on the field. And it's pretty impressive that they only gave up 21. So I have to give him some credit. I still don't love him as a defensive coordinator because I think that having games like this are more of an exception than the rule with him. So you get the kudos for this one, but we'll see what next game looks like against Washington, especially with a super mobile quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I will give some credit to Tressel. I think that he dialed up some good blitzes, especially with those inside linebackers. Like we saw both of them getting pressure on the quarterback. And I think we need to do more of that because you're utilizing the skills that these players have. Thought it was interesting to look at some PFF grades from yesterday. Posa overall defense was rated up pretty well, close to a 70. Same was Cooper Catalano. They were the two of the top 4 defensive players on the team, only outshined by Michael Garner and Charles Perkins as far as PFF grades. But those guys got very little snaps. So when you look at anyone who had like a decent number of snaps, like the full snaps, Posa and Catalano led the way. Our eyes don't lie. PFF agrees. Like they were far and away the best defensive players on the team yesterday. And they're both true freshmen. Like, this is unbelievable. And it's Oregon. That's my biggest thing. Like, it's Oregon for guys. It's not Purdue or something like that. We're playing a real team, which is awesome. Justin, as the D is currently constructed, sitting right now with, it's not like we have a ton of injuries or anything out there. Obviously, let's assume Zachman comes back. How do you feel about the defense against the rest of the schedule? Washington, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota. Do you feel like this can become a strength for us, at least at some point in the last 4?
I think that it will look good against probably every one of those teams but Indiana. And I think that Indiana just –
that's fine.
They're like a battle of attrition with them. Like they will just wear you down and then drop 21 on you in a quarter all of a sudden. So, yeah, I think they'll be fine. I don't think any of those teams are – well, Washington may be a handful. I think they can legitimately score. I'm not super scared of Illinois. I think they were kind of fool's gold we even brought up coming into this season. And I think we're seeing that. They're losing games here more than people expected from them. Their defense isn't particularly great. And I don't think Minnesota is any sort of juggernaut. I think they scare me a little bit in terms of they just have a more competent offense than we do. But I think we can, like, that game could end up being like 14-7.
They scare me. They don't really scare me. It's just they do play better at home. They suck on the road. They are horrible. Their road record,
and that could just be a young quarterback too. Like maybe
that's exactly like I bet on Iowa. It was one of my Saturday locks because Drake Lindsay going on the road to Iowa in a blackout late afternoon game, like that's not an easy environment to win in. And Drake Lindsay, it showed. Boy, he looked flustered as hell yesterday in that game. So I agree. I think the defense can keep us in games. But ultimately, it comes down to the other side of the ball. And we're going to lead off our offensive discussion with Alien Space. Wisconsin might have the worst offense in football. Yeah. Justin, it's about as bad as it gets offensively yesterday.
We scored 7 points, and we were all talking about how it was like the greatest thing we've seen.
And it was freaking Hunter just launching it hero ball style up, and thank God, Eugene made a give me your thoughts overall offensively yesterday?
I thought Atuka was pretty good. I thought the offensive line was better in run blocking. I thought that Simmons was horrific at quarterback. I don't think he gives them a chance right now. Like, he legitimately does not seem like he understands what's going on the field anymore. And somebody had put a comment up about Carter Smith, just play him. I think that there's a solid chance that he might be the guy coming back off of the bye week. It will be really interesting to see if they do that. It'll be a home game for him to be his first game, which I think that's probably ideal. I think Washington's a really good team, so I think some pressure is probably off. You're obviously going to try to win that game, but like, I don't think you scar him if you lose that game because it's the game you're expected to lose. I think you'd feel worse if he's trying to put too much on himself to try and do something against like a game like Minnesota, where you're legitimately he makes mistakes because he's trying to win that game.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little about the QB moving forward at the end of the section. Listen, I think Hunter Simmons looked terrific. There's no other way to put it. Like, I had his numbers up and now I lost them, but they're inconsequential. 7 of 21 for 86 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. 86 yards. 21 passes. That is so bad. It's insane. I mean, what are we doing? Mr. October asked how hurt are the 2 running backs. Sounds like Dupree's out for the season.
Yeah, I would guess even when they took him off the field, this is just me guessing. I'm going to guess it's an ACL. I don't know anything, but like the way they took him off the field, it seemed like it was clearly a knee issue.
I just think if it was an ACL, they would have said it. And I don't think
that they have unless it tends to get out there, this staff really doesn't bring much clarity.
Maybe.
Don't know what the hell Billy's got.
Well, they've said it's a knee sprain. I'm just saying, I feel like if it was an ACL tear, they would just do it. They would just say it. Nonetheless, the broadcasters made a comment yesterday that Dylan Jones is out for the year. I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
and I don't know
the Badgers actually actively said that that's not the case.
Right.
They also said that O'Neal is healthy.
So. We're gonna get into that discussion. But yeah, I mean, so whatever it is, getting Atuka is the guy that we obviously have to give a lot of credit to. He looked really, really good yesterday. Ran hard, 21 carries, 91 yards. average long 18-yard long, which by the way was it the longest run for a running back, right?
Yeah,
this year?
That's our longest run for a running back this year. I
Bloody
think
hell.
Dupree had 17 and Jones had a 16.
Getting Atuka is the man. I mean, he ran his butt off, and I hope he gets more playing time. I do still think that if Dylan Jones is healthy, I want Dylan Jones playing and Atuka. Yakimelli can go to the bench now.
Well, you need more running back help because he's going to wear down otherwise.
Right. Give me a two-headed monster of Jones and Atuka. I'm good. Like at this point, that's what I want. And Atuka deserves all the credit in the world. He looked so good yesterday, and his vision, Justin, was better than what we've seen from the other guys. The offensive line is better, and we have to say that. Like Dylan Jones behind this line yesterday, I think would have also had a decent game. I'm not saying Atuka, but you have to give him credit. But his vision was actually pretty solid, and we've talked. Yeah,
he has really good instincts. I think that was the biggest takeaway that I had from it. Is he seems to have a really good feel for where space is when he's running, and he does a really nice job of getting skinny when he hits the line. Like he had a lot of times where he would slip through for a couple of yards here and there that the other guys just haven't been getting. Like Jones and Dupree have really struggled to get those 1 or 2 extra yards where it's just like you kind of run into somebody and then kind of fall forward and slide through for an extra yard or two. And like, he just feels like he's further along, and maybe that's something they get better with. But if I had the choice right now, I'd say I want Atuka right now, just based off that one game. He just looks more like naturally he's further along in terms of his skill set.
Well, Bo Dragon certainly agrees with you. Atuka sneaks through cracks and is physical. It's obvious Atuka is way better. I mean, listen, I definitely agree on the vision. I'm not knocking the guy at all. He had a fantastic game. I just think that if you played both Jones and Atuka, two-headed monster, that's a solid running. That's solid right there, especially with Dupree's likely injury. The receivers, Justin, I think left a little bit to be desired yesterday, other than, of course, the one big play, which was Eugene Hilton getting, again, another freshman, playing awesome, 42 yards. Hey, adjusted the ball in the air, made a play. Vinny Anthony didn't do that yesterday when he had a chance to make a play, but Vinny Anthony's been great all season. I'm not going to knock him, but Jaden Ballard certainly has had opportunities like that and has not made plays, but Eugene Hilton did make a play. I'm kind of tired of our receivers not making plays. I'm not saying Hunter Simmons is not a bad quarterback. He is, but I also think our receivers aren't doing much to help him. Like, and I said that during the Iowa game, during the Ohio State game. Like, we've got to try to make a play, and Eugene Hilton made a play.
Yeah, I thought that was really impressive. I'm not going to put too much on the receivers in this game. I think Simmons was just horrific. He's not giving his receivers really an opportunity to make plays a lot of the time. The one that Vinny had, I thought that ball came out a second late. Like, he's got to hit that in the open spot on the sideline when it's covered too. If he knows what it is, he
still has to catch it. Like he
does.
Why did he didn't even touch the ball?
Well, he airmailed it out there. I think Vinny got caught worrying about the safety coming over and just taking his head off, because that ball had a lot of air under it to the sideline.
I do agree, but I still think like he can make that play. He can high point it, or if he wants to, I just feel like he could have been better there. But again, Vinny has been our best receiver all year. I'm not throwing shade at Vinny. I just think he could have made a play. It's really Jaden Ballard that I feel like doesn't make the plays. And I was impressed with Eugene Hilton. And I think Hilton gets more playing time, right? I mean, like he's like, I know he only had one catch, but he is working his butt off out there.
I would like to see him opposite of Vinny at this point. Like, I think that every time he steps foot on the field, he does something positive. And I say that with him having limited opportunities, but whenever the ball seems to come his way, he seems to make a play. So I think you need to continue to develop him, because hopefully, next year he gets an opportunity to be the guy.
So talking about the quarterback a little bit, let's get into this. I'm just going to give you my take, and then I want yours and everything. Like, obviously, I have no comprehension, none, as to why Hunter Simmons finished the game. Like, I'm sorry. He was 1 of 13, and it was a close game. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were not going to win that game, but when you're down a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, I mean, why are you not trying to win the game with a new quarterback? Hunter Simmons literally had no offensive ability. He couldn't do anything. He had 1 touchdown on a hero ball that he launched up there. It was prayer, and Eugene Hilton answered it. But come on, like, if Danny O'Neal's healthy, why is he not getting any reps? I can't understand that one bit. And I don't know if it's about the hardworking thing. Maybe it's because he was an issue. Maybe he said he wants to transfer. There's 1,000 reasons that it could be, but we don't know about, and that's fine. But I want that explained to me at some point. Like, I need to understand why Danny O'Neill's not playing. And for that matter, Carter Smith. We talked about Carter Smith. Like, you can't trot out a quarterback, Justin, for the last 4 games. 3 of those games I think are mildly winnable. I'm not saying that we're going to win, but mildly winnable. Like, what? We have to put a quarterback out there that can have a pulse, that can do something, that can raise the ceiling of this team at some point and actually make something happen. It cannot be Hunter Simmons. Is there any chance Hunter Simmons actually starts these last 4 games? I would go nuts if that happened.
If he does, then I would say it's something that we legitimately have to look at it and say Carter might be further away from this than we thought, or then the people that have said that Carter may be transferring, we have to give it some credence at that point. That maybe that's actually accurate. I don't believe it is, based on the things that we've kind of heard behind, kind of leaked out. But if that's the case and you're still starting Simmons at that point, then I have to look at it and be like, what are we doing here? If you legitimately have other guys who are capable of playing, then why are you playing him? Because he is not competitive right now. Like, he's not capable of even being able to functionally run the offense. I don't care if you're checking it down every play. Like, he can't even do that. So it's just brutal to watch. Like, he just doesn't have any feel for it.
And there is someone else who can play. There are people. There was a backup quarterback yesterday, and his name was Danny O'Neill. Milos can play. Carter can play. There's 4 people that can play quarterback. Put someone else out there. The other thing I will say, which I said on the reaction show yesterday, and I will say again, in my opinion, if Billy is healthy, I want Billy to play. There have been some varying rumors, reports, potentially, I've heard some people saying that Billy's more hurt. I've heard some people saying that Billy is probably going to try to potentially take a medical red shirt. Like, I have no idea what to believe or what's real or what's not. But what I know is that he sprained his knee, and then he played at the beginning of the Maryland game, re-injured it, and we haven't seen him since, which is shocking to me. Like, how can he not be healthy right now? If this guy's honestly just staying hurt to take his $1 million payday, whatever he got from us, and transfer you with a medical red shirt. Like, if you take a medical red shirt, you shouldn't get paid the money. What the hell? Like, I'm not saying that. Like, I get that. But I mean, then stay. Like, if he literally does this, I'm going to be so pissed. Like, I had so many high hopes for Billy. And if he's healthy, he needs to play because he gives us the best chance to win, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that one bit. I think he clearly is the best quarterback that's on the roster. I just question, like, we're clearly at the point in the season now where it's a business decision, I think. And you have to wonder, and yes, it sucks if you're Wisconsin, but I can understand if in his eyes, he's like, I'm going to take a shot at the medical red shirt and have a good season where I get a full season rather than play out the last 4 games and have a partial season with a fractured team or a team with a really broken offense. It sucks, but I could see that happening. Like, it's not hard for me to wrap my head around that and see it play out that way where he makes a business decision. I don't hold that against him. I kind of get it if you're somebody who wants to go professional and you feel like you need to put a really good season of film together. But yes, it feels really crappy to have somebody come in, play basically like 3 drives, and then exit with $1 million. That's crazy.
I mean, he needs to play. I'm not for this crap at all. Like, he needs to play. If he's healthy, get out there and play. Now, he'll just say that he's not. And I don't know if Fickle was asked him about him at this post-game presser. I'm sure he'll be asked about him on Monday. I'm going to text Nick and beg him to ask some questions about Billy. But I just, like, we've got to figure out what's going on here. Like, and if it's not Billy, then it has to be Carter. Like, I just cannot see 4 more games of Hunter Simmons. I can't. Like, I would much rather have Danny O'Neil at this point. And I don't even like Danny O'Neil. And I'd rather have him be out there than Hunter Simmons because he's the 4th guy. I'd put Billy, Carter, Danny. That's the order of which I would play them in. And Hunter Simmons would be below Milos at this point. Like, what are we? It makes no sense, man. And yet again, it's one more reason that I'm just upset with Luke Fickell for not making this kind of a decision. I give him credit for putting the young guys out there, which he did, but at some point you're gonna have to make a change at quarterback. And he mentioned it after the Iowa game in his post-game presser about like, yeah, we should have probably looked at pulling Hunter or whatever, but yet we've still seen him start both games. Like, I am very surprised by that, honestly. I'm surprised that he's still starting, and it's a kind of a train wreck.
Yeah, I don't take much away from the press time with him anymore. Like, it's fluff. I don't know how much insight he's really going to give us anything. I do think that sometimes when he's talking about how he actually feels, it's probably accurate. I think when you talk about him not knowing what to do, but I also am to the point where I don't trust him anymore to actually figure out how to correct things. I do think we got a bump in this last game because of the young guys, but I think we can also argue, why did it take so long to get these guys more reps? Like, you could have been giving Mason and Catalano like a third of the reps and just keeping your starters fresh earlier than this. And this could have been done like by week 4 or 5. And instead you're screwing around with stuff and not being serious with developing the young guys because, well, we made promises to some of these other guys. Guess what? Your team sucks. I don't care who you made a promise to. We're at the point where it doesn't matter if people aren't producing. They don't go on the field. Like, that's just where we're at. Are you really that worried about losing somebody who has had a crappy season? They're not playing well. So what if they leave at this point?
Yeah, I don't disagree. Zach Bart says, let's move on to coaching a little bit. Zach Bart says, he said this earlier, this game likely got Fick the rest of the season. We'll see what he does with it. They looked good versus Michigan before getting outscored 71-0 in the next 2 games. Let's see if they can string together games. So we've obviously talked quite a bit about Luke Fickell on the show, and when you and I both are in the agreement that he should not be our coach next year. Got a question on Discord, which I thought was really good, from 38th year senior on Discord. He says, with the number of high-profile jobs out there, does it make you hesitate at all in firing Fickell now? It would make me reconsider moving on if they show growth here, referring to the fact that there's a lot of jobs open. Obviously, LSU's open right now. Penn State's open. Florida's open. And there will be more. My initial thought on this is, but that means there's also more people in that room as well. Like, there's Brian Kelly, there's James Franklin, there's more talent in that pool. But also there are a lot of high-profile jobs open. I think it's a fair point. Someone else responded on Discord talking about how some of the guys that we probably look for are not really in that group, right? We're probably looking at the X or maybe the Campbells. But do you look at the coaching situation differently, as 38th year senior asks here, Justin, because of the fact that there are a lot of schools with very high-profile jobs, and we're going to be working our way down the pecking order a little bit?
I think that's a fool's errand to look at it that way. And the reason I say that is because there's going to be teams every year. Like, we could go into next year, Oklahoma could be replacing their coach. You know, there's multiple teams that you can look at and say, these guys are close enough to not being quite the level you'd expect them to be, that they may move on next year if it's not this year. So I think if you're going to play that game, you're going to be waiting forever. Like, there's always going to be other teams that you're going to have to worry about. And I think if something's broken, you need to be proactive in trying to fix it. You can't play this game where it's, well, we might have a better chance at getting this next year. You never know what's going to happen. And you never know. Like, I don't think there's a way to look at it that a coach is going to be a lock. We thought Luke Fickell was going to be a lock. Clearly wasn't. So you're kind of playing the lottery anytime you're doing this with a coach. You do your best job to get as much information as possible. But I don't think you can take the risk that you're worried about other people cannibalizing the coaching market and stealing your options. Some of these teams are going to take from, other really good teams. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to pay to that level, so it's not going to be us. We're probably going to have to get somebody who's moving their way up the ladder, which is fine. Like, I want somebody who's got more substance than flash.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that you can worry about what the carousel looks like, because I guess, again, as I said, like, the jobs might be open, but that means there's also more talent in the pool too, because more of those guys got fired. Not to say that when you're going to bring in Brian Kelly or James Franklin, but those guys are going somewhere, right? So they're getting a job. So I feel like we have a lot to offer programs as far as coaches, and we're going to be fine in the carousel. How this game looked did not move the needle for me on Luke Fickell. I would have to see a 4-0 performance going to a bowl game to even think about wanting Luke Fickell back next year. From me. And I realize there are people out there who want him back. There's people out there who are like Ryan, who don't necessarily want him back, but are rationalizing it because he thinks that's what's going to happen. And I respect that. But to me, like, this is a closed door case at this point. Like, when the season's over, you need to start the new search. You need to look at a whole new staff. You got to figure out what pieces you might want to keep, if anything. You got to work on recruiting. Like, we need to start over. Whatever happens in the last 4 games, it's not good enough. And nothing is really going to change my mind on that.
I don't trust that even if we went 4-0 to end this, that we would be able to carry it over to next year. And that's part of the issue. Because I think that there's legitimately, like, who are you getting? You probably have Billy at quarterback then. You go 4-0, and you'd be starting over at quarterback yet again going into next season and hoping that things click right away. It's not like Wisconsin would be having a carryover season. You could say that at certain positions that they would probably be better. But even with the offensive line, you're going to have multiple positions or multiple players that are going to be moving on after this season. So there's going to be a lot of things shifting around. And I don't trust him to get a high level, a high floor out of this team next year.
At this point, how can you? Honestly, like, at this point,
they've been way too inconsistent.
Like, what are you pointing to think that Luke Fickell is going to raise the floor of this team? It's not. The only thing you can point to is recruiting, because Posa, Catalano, Hilton, those guys are hits. And so that is one thing you can say, okay, but though another year, those players. And the other argument I've heard is, look at the quarterback situation. Like, he has had horrible luck, which he has had. If we had Billy Edwards the whole year, what's our record? What?
They're his guys, though. Like,
but they're injuries. I mean, it's not his fault. Tyler Van Dyke tore his ACL. Like,
I get that to a degree, but it's like, partial to those first 2 years, you did not do great. Like, Mordecai wasn't bad, but it's not like you went out there and got you went after guys who were kind of retreads versus taking a shot on guys who were more of like a lottery ticket. Like Altmaier going to Illinois. We never did that, really, where it was somebody that had some decent pedigree to like an SEC school. The closest thing was us getting what's his name that went to UConn?
Oh, Nick Evers.
Nick Evers, who was extremely raw.
Yeah.
And other than that, like, you let them bring in 2 locks who, like, the upside just wasn't there. Like, I'm sorry, we saw that right from the get-go, and it's why I was so down on Locke from the beginning. Was I looked at it and I'm like, the limitations that these guys, both of those 2 had, I'm like, are gonna really restrict what you can do offensively. So I don't get it. Like, it's some of this, and I look at some of the guys that we're targeting now, like a guy like Hopkins or something like that, and you're like, all right, if this clicks, I get it. I can see it. This you can see where this turns into something special. Or even the guys that they're in on for 27. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, these guys have some really high athletic attributes that you're like, okay, if this clicks, this guy could be a stud. We blew away 2 years in the quarterback market where it was just like, I mean, you had Mabry, who knows what happens with him. He was some physical tools, but he wasn't ready in his time here, and he was out the door. So everything kind of got flushed. Like, we've had so much roster turnover under him that it's been ridiculous.
I mean, I think that there's definitely a point to be made that if Tanner Mordecai, Tyler Van Dyke, and Billy Edwards never get hurt, we probably win another game in Mordecai's season. We probably go to a bowl game last year. I think that's probably clear. And then this year we probably have a much better record. Like, I feel like that's very, and so he has gotten a raw deal there, no doubt.
Oh, no doubt. And I'll say to Doc here, they're not going to Wisconsin. You have to earn money before you get it at Wisconsin. Hire QBs in the portal, want more money. I don't want to hire quarterback necessarily. I would rather, when you see those guys come jumping out of Alabama because they're not going to get an opportunity there, and as a guy who is a high 4-star or whatever, take a shot on one of those guys. because they have no film. Well, Prabula was another one of those. Like I talked about him after we got the game. Like if he hits the portal, I would love to take a shot on him. It's fine with Billy, but we talked about it before. I would much rather have 2 years of Prabula than 1 year of Billy.
Yeah, I would like to not have a like legitimately 1 year guys all the time, right? Like, yikes.
And Doc says he still wants money. He has value. I understand that, but like if you're gonna pay $500K for a guy who has no film and is like wasn't in the argument for starting at Alabama versus a guy who is a limited ceiling, I'll take my chances that the one guy turns out. He got the scholarship offer from a Blue Blood for a reason, and they typically have pretty quality quarterback talent that they bring in. Sometimes they miss, but more often than not, they're at least solid.
Bo Dragon says Locke might have won the Oregon game. He had a chance last year, Bo, and he didn't do it. This was last year's game. It was a much better chance last year to do it, and he couldn't win that game. I think Danny, I don't think any quarterback on our roster is winning this game.
Yeah,
for sure.
we weren't winning this game.
But I think we would have looked a little bit better.
We probably would have moved the ball down the field a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, good God, it's so bad. It's just so bad. Okay, so we're going to do some quick rapid fire questions here. And before we move on to basketball, just to touch not just a rapid fire, but what could and should this team look like after the bye? Like what are you sort of expecting at this point now? We got 2 weeks off. Hopefully Zachman's healthy. Hopefully Edwards is healthy. Like, what are your realistic expectations now for the rest of the season?
I think you need to just start Hinsman the rest of the year. And just say, all right, this line needs to gel with the center.
You're saying start Heinzen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if you want to keep Renfro as your backup, that's fine. He's too injury prone for me to rely on him as a starter at this point. And then you have somebody who's got experience if he has to come into a game. But right now, I need somebody who I can rely on to be out there every game. And then beyond that, I want to see Carter. I think that you could spoon feed him at quarterback. I mean, it's not going to be worse than it was with Simmons. Like we saw him go out and throw away the entire Iowa game in the first quarter. So I can't see him doing worse than that. And what I will say is one thing I will say about Carter is I do think that he's a gamer. I think he will go out there and he will kill himself trying to win games. Like he's going to bust his butt to make plays.
I mean, he could just not be ready at this point. Like
and that's the reason
I'm not denying that either. They're like, he's not ready. Like if he went out there, he would look worse. Like that could be. We're not in practice. We don't see what these guys see. Like I think it's fair.
13 though, or throwing 3 picks in the first quarter.
No, I mean for sure. Like for me with the whole Heinzen thing, we continue to disagree on this. If Renfro is healthy, Renfro is the center in my opinion. I just want him he is a better center, and it's not close. No one's going to convince me that Heinzen's a better center than Renfro. That's not happening.
I think we've seen 2 games with running with Heinzen in that center where I just thought the offensive line run blocking was better with him in there.
To be fair,
Renfro's a better technical center, but I think Heinzen's a better blocker.
To be fair, I have not watched all 22. I plan to do that the next day or so. And I'm very much interested to see what Heinzen looks like. And again, we said it, the offensive line is better. It's definitely getting better. That's what happens when you actually have a plan, you executed it, and you've had time to grow that plan. Yeah, could have happened before the season, Mr. Blazek. It didn't have to happen in week 3.
Brian Erdman, Renfro is Samuel L. Jackson's character in Unbreakable. I think that's actually a pretty fair summation at this point. He's been injured, 8 times or something like that over his career at Wisconsin already? It's above 5. I know that for sure. Because he's had multiple games he sat out where he came back, was healthy, then sat out like the next game following the game that he came back. And it's like, oh man.
My Oregon fan neighbor and good friend, Spencer, at least the Badgers covered. You were scared, Spencer. Don't tell me you weren't scared. I know he was at a wedding and I'm sure he's looking at this phone like, what the hell is wrong with the score? We're not up 70-0. I know you were scared. But hey, it is what it is. Okay. So what's your record prediction at this point going into the last 4?
I still think it's 0-4.
Oh yeah, and you said that yesterday.
And that's a lot of it. A lot of it, I have to say, has to do with I just don't know what to expect week to week from this team. Will the effort stay there? I do think the young guys are going to play hard. So if you're going to make a youth movement going into the rest of this, I think that the defense will be pretty solid over the remainder of the season. I do question, what do we see from the offense going forward? Because we do still play some really good defenses. So it's going to be interesting. And one thing I will say about Oregon, we didn't really turn the ball over in that game, despite the fact that we didn't play well on offense. That's always a part of it that I have to be concerned with, because he's got 5 picks already, and that could very well continue to rise. Well, I'd be shocked if it doesn't. Even if Carter comes in, like, he's going to turn the ball over some. He's a true freshman quarterback. He will make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, he will, but at least hopefully we have something to cheer about, because Hunter Simmons is not that guy at all. No, I think it's 2-2. I will continue to believe that Luke Fickell is not going to put Hunter Simmons out there. If he does, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. If Hunter Simmons is our quarterback, we will go 0-4. And that, to me, is about as clear as day, because we cannot move the ball. I mean, once again, we had a chance of beating Oregon with a quarterback with a pulse, and we couldn't do it because we didn't have a quarterback. It's maddening, absolutely maddening. Last thoughts on football, just before we quickly touch on the Oklahoma basketball game. Anything else on football?
No, I don't. I think we spent plenty of time on it. I mean, I know people looked at this game as progress, but I need to take, the point I want to make with this. We did still lose by 2 scores to a team. Like, it's not like we took them down to the wire and,
no, we got beat by a far superior team.
I know, but there are people that are going to use this as a leverage thing to say, well, we looked like we made a lot of progress. And it's like, okay, we need to win games like this. If Luke Fickell wants to stay, I don't care about how close he kept the game. I want to see him shock somebody and win a game. Like, that's ultimately, if he wants to save his job, you're past the point of being able to say, I kept it close against a good team.
Agreed completely. Like, it's not when I say progress, for me, it's about the youth. It's about the Posa and the Catalano.
I absolutely love seeing them.
And Atuka and Hilton. Those are the 4 names that I like. That to me is what, like, I feel about progress. I like the fact that we played them, because last year, Justin, we were clamoring for him to play young players. At least he did. At least, like, you could say that Catalano was going to play anyway because, Allegro was hurt. Curtis on the bench, Posa in. That is a decision that Luke Fickell did not make last year, and that is what I appreciate. So I think there is something to that. Okay, so again, next week, we're not gonna have a three big things, but next week we will be doing our basketball preview full edition next Sunday night. But there was a scrimmage, Oklahoma. We talked about it a little bit on Locked On Badgers if you listened to that yesterday. But Justin, overall, I'll go first here. I think I'm excited about this team a lot, like really excited. Nick Boyd looks like he's going to be a player. Issues, little things here and there. I'm glad we played it. Nolan Winter looked really bad. Not really bad, but he looked pretty bad. But playing this game is what's going to help him. Because if the first game you play is against whoever the hell we're playing next week, which is some cupcake, like, you're not going to get that. You're not going to realize, oh crap, I need to get a lot better and a lot quicker. And that, to me, is what I appreciate. Like, he's going to be working on pump fakes and in-lane stuff quickly, or either going to make some adjustments. Playing a team, a probable tournament team this early in the season, as an exhibition, will do nothing but help your team. It'll do nothing but give you, like, figure out what you need to work on and make things better. There are holes on this team. Blackwell's going to be great. Boyd's going to be great. Austin Rapp looks like he's going to be a dude playing a kind of power 4 position. And then, of course, Rhodey, passing ability, shooting ability. There's a lot of good stuff. But man, I'm excited. I think it didn't move the needle on my excitement level either direction. I'm like, I was excited before. I'm still excited.
So my thoughts from this game, I thought Blackwell played exceptional. I thought he could have scored another 10 points easily in this game. He was very controlled. He definitely let the game come to him, which was nice to see. But I think he's a guy who can score 20 any game he wants to this season. He looks like, with his mid-range game, the way he looked in this game, he's just going to sit there and just work guys over this season. I thought Rapp looked incredible. I did not expect him to look this good. I felt like he looked better athletically than he did in his freshman film, which was saying something because I thought he would look pretty limited athletically. I thought he's a good shooter, but he didn't move necessarily well. He's gotten stronger and he looks a little bit more fluid than what he did in his time at Portland. Boyd, to me, is going to be a work in progress. He was a little helter-skelter out there. He seems to get tunnel vision at times offensively. I love the fact that he attacks downhill a lot, but him and Winter both had some situations where it's like you need to understand where you're at and what you actually have available to you.
But those will get cleaned up.
Yes, I'm not saying that I don't think he's going to be good. I'm saying these are things that we lost that game because of these things, but these are things that I know over the course of the season will get better. I do think Boyd's going to be really good for us this season because I do think when we have games where we're not shooting well, his ability to get downhill is going to be really a plus for us in being able to find offense. With regards to Nolan Winter, play strong is all I have to say, because most of his undoing in that game was go up and try to throw it down. Take the foul, go to the line on it. But this layup stuff, you got rejected multiple times because you didn't
on
go
the
up strong
same
with
play.
The ball.
Multiple times on the same play.
Go up strong. You're getting your wrist slapped if you go up to try to dunk that. And maybe you can't throw it down. And he's not the most explosive guy. He's a good athlete, but he's not the most explosive guy. But still, when you know somebody's on your back like that, you got to go up strong with it. Like, you can't afford to play that way.
And this is exactly what, like, if you watch any like the sort of like the behind the scenes stuff that they're coming out with now with the season or whatever coming up, you've heard Greg Gard say iron sharpens iron. Let me tell you something. You need some iron to sharpen Nolan Winter, because you can tell from that game, Justin, that nobody in practice is defending him with any kind of fervor, because if that happened, that wouldn't have happened in the game yesterday, which is exactly why I think it's important that we played that game, and that did happen. Because now he's like, oh shit, like I actually have to be better. I mean, all you've heard about, and I'm a big Winter believer. He was the number one guy in that class for me.
He'll be much better as the season goes on.
Absolutely. And I think like he's going to be great, but he clearly is not getting pushed in practice at that level because of what we just saw, which is fine. You saw it. Now you got to grow from it. So someone's got to push him a little bit more, because that iron sharpens iron is working for like Blackwell and other guys. It needs to work for Winter too. Because how many times have we heard, boy, Winter took a big step. Winter's dominating. Well, he's dominating because no one's defending him like that guy did. And that's a big deal.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Like, Guard's going to show him that film and be like, you need to play stronger than this.
Yep.
Like, this isn't good enough. Like, you can get away with that when we're playing whatever Division III school we're going to play in, the remainder of time, or Campbell when we get to that point.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to step up your game and be aggressive, because if you want to play in March, you can't be messing around with this stuff. I do think I like the size. I do. Rhodey in that game, the biggest thing I took away from him, really good passer, really good instincts with his passing, takes a few like risks that I'm not going to love in games, I can tell already, because he sees things at a high level, but it's like the quarterback that throws the ball right over the defender's shoulder into their hands. It's like, that's going to be an incredible play at one point, and then the next time that guy's going to get an arm up and it's going to get deflected and it's going to end up being a turnover. And it's like, I love the fact that you can see that, but I also have to look at it and be like, dude, sometimes just make the easy play. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty, like, slick every time. Just make sure you're getting the ball to the guy that he can get the ball in good position.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll be back again next Sunday for our full Sunday evening show, full basketball preview. We're going to do everything, all the predictions, player of the year, deep in the tournament, all that stuff. We're going to talk about everything about this basketball team. And we'll be back, of course, following that week, looking ahead to the Washington game, 3 big things. And then, of course, back the following weekend for another breakdown of football. Final thoughts, Justin, anything else you want to touch on before we close the show?
No, I think we're happy that basketball is coming back, because it gives us some positivity and excitement for this season. I do think the team is going to be pretty darn good. I think people do need to relax a little bit on the big men. I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat just attacking our guys. They're going to be solid for us in just about every game unless we play somebody that's actually got a brute down in the post. Then we're going to struggle. Or somebody who's super athletic. Those games, they're going to struggle in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to learn from this. And we are a good team. We are going to be good, but we've got to make strides and keep growing, which Greg Gard has proven that he can do.
One more thing I'll say, Rapp did a heck of a job diving to the rim.
Yeah. Yeah, Rapp looked like that. There's always that one transfer. You're like, oh, he's going to be really good. Obviously, Tanjay was that last year. Storr was the year before. Maybe Rapp is that guy that we're like, oh crap, man, this guy's awesome. Stay tuned for more stuff this week, potentially on some podcasts. I do want to break down the All-22 a little bit. And of course, check out Saturday Locks, 24-11 season record. And we'll be back next Sunday to talk about more basketball. With that, thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.